Hello, here we are then. This is the last formative unit before we go into the final major project in March. Let's see what we need to do. In Classroom, you'll see it's been launched, interactive projects, and as always, you can find all projects underneath the projects Cool Dude Smiley Face here, where you can see all the projects and the feedback for said projects in the same space. Today you will find it. Today being the launch of the interactive project, the 31st of January, in Classroom at the top of the stream. When you open it up, you will see you've got an attachment to the brief itself. This will give you an overview of what to expect. Deadline is the 4th of March 2022 at 4:30 as always. This covers Unit 7. So Unit 7 is, as I've said, the final formative projects before we go into the FMP, which starts in March. Now, the aim of this particular unit is for you to develop your abilities to critically analyze and think about the user, the audience, and to integrate, bring together your knowledge and understanding about planning, organizing a project, creating solutions to a problem. All the things you've learned in previous units should start to come together in this one as you investigate the specific skills and attributes required. In this particular project, it's going to be about an interactive based media platform. So, we're going to be deciding what you're going to be using. You can decide, as long as it's interactive and the audience can click, swipe, engage, interact with it, then it's fair game. In this project, I know I keep mentioning this, but I do so with purpose and intention. I'm looking for you to really show me the process. I want to see you take risks and try things. I want to see you fail fast. We're going to be talking about that quite a bit. Failing fast is really important to me. I want to see you try things, and then when it doesn't work, adapt, pivot, and show agile thinking to evolve an idea rather than slowly sink as an idea fails. I want you to react and respond as things are not going as you want them to, with solutions and problem solving. Hence why the process is so important. I want you to show me you have learned from mistakes. I like to see that. Go again in a different direction, pivot and adapt your idea. What you set out to create is rarely what you end up with, as you know full well at this point in the course. I want to see how you've adjusted to evolve your idea. I really want to see that problem solving approach. Really keen on that. What is creativity if not problem solving? And ultimately, that idea of getting better. That's for me one of the big things of this first year on this 2-year program, a diploma in creative media production. And of course, meeting the deadline. Doesn't matter whether it's ready or not. All that matters is it the deadline? Okay, well, we hand in our work. We do all we can up to and including that date. The brief comes from Enterprise M3, who are in charge of innovating and growing and developing projects in the M3 corridor, which is basically the M3 motorway and all the different counties that spiral off of that on the map. An enormous part of the country. And the EM3 are a team who actually help to generate projects, products, and different community shaping hubs and spaces and facilities and estates and companies and buildings that can be used to grow and develop the southeast, the M3 corridor. So our learning hub, our launch space area, that came from working with the Enterprise M3 team. They helped to grow and develop parts of the country. So they've kindly asked us to contribute to a case study on how new and emerging technologies can be used to engage the 16 to 25-year-old demographic. Essentially, they want to know what tech is being used to engage young people in 2022. They want examples of it so they can see from you, the users, what connects, what is useful, what is a nice way to interact with that particular demographic, your demographic. Social media stories, interactive videos, augmented, virtual, mixed reality, live streaming, artificial intelligence, choose your own path stories, any form of interactive media you want to explore on this project, you can, because the Enterprise M3 team are keen for you to show them examples of what you feel works and has worked, so they can look at your examples as part of their research in this topic that resonates enormously with them. With the growth in this demographic in the Southeast region, they want to have as much user feedback as possible. So this will cover industry placement hours for you. All work done outside of lessons for the interactive project you can claim as industry placement hours. You will work in a team of 2 to 3 people. You will have 3 months to work independently on your FMP. This is the last project of the year where I would like you to work in a team with others. It's only a short amount of time to work together, so I think it's a good chance for you to work with people you haven't worked with to problem solve to a common goal. In a group of 2 to 3 people, you will plan a prototype, a rough version. You will test it, you will get feedback, you will test it again, and then create a finished project after that. I'll go through that with you in lessons. Individually, you will document everything on a Google Doc. Not a site, not an Adobe Spark, not a Wakelet, not a blog, not a site at all. A Google Doc. One document for everything to be in. You can hyperlink out of that document to other things, of course, but I want everything in one Google Doc for this interactive project. Just one Google Doc is all you will be submitting at the end of this project. Nothing else. Link everything else or embed it within the Google Doc, but it will just be one Google Doc you submit. So for this project, make a new document, entitle it Interactive Project, and then put all your work in one space. You've got the headings created for you already, which I'll share with you shortly. You're going to be assessed via a witness statement, which I'll show you in just a minute, which is myself, Rachel, and the new member of our team, who you'll be meeting shortly, to see whether you've managed to hit the criteria. Of course, there'll be further feedback beyond that, but the witness statement is what's going to be used to decide whether you've achieved the criteria. As I've mentioned, all work on the interactive project that is done outside of lesson time, that is research, practice, tests, exploration, using tech, rehearsing, all work done outside of lesson time can be claimed as industry placement hours. So log that on dashboard, please. Your work will be invaluable research to the EM3, that is the Enterprise M3 team, who are keen to see what lands and connects and resonates with your generation in terms of interactive media. What causes you to invest, swipe, engage, and to feel like you're really being spoken to by the different media platforms that are available. Create something that is an exemplar of that so you can put it forward to the EM3 team. You have access to different technologies on this project that I will be helping you with in my lessons in particular. You will decide what you create. It might be a 360 video using virtual reality. It might be something using ThingLink, interactive hotspots on a visual. It might be a self-marking podcast or video that stops and asks questions of the audience before they proceed. It might be an app. It might be A choose your own adventure using a slide deck. It might be something else, like a social media interactive story. As long as you're demonstrating how new and emerging interactive technologies can connect to young people, the Enterprise M3 team will be very appreciative of your user research. First thing I'm going to do is this: requirements. What are the expectations and limits of your project idea? What have you been asked to do? What are the limits? Deadlines, budget, resource, facilities, people, COVID. What will you be creating? Decide in your team of 2 to 3 people. Why? Does that satisfy the brief? Justify it. Is this right for the audience? Again, justify it. Research, data, facts, stats. What resources are needed? Do you have access to those resources? Can you use those resources? Again, barriers. You are 4 or 5 projects deep at this point, so you've got an idea of what sort of barriers might come along. What are the requirements? 1.1. 1.2, research. I want you to show how you developed your idea. Primary research, surveys, focus groups, interviews. At least one example of primary research, that is research you've done yourselves. And at least one example of secondary research, that is looking at tutorials, how-to guides, articles, practice demonstrations. At least one of those as well. So, in your teams, you need to have one of these each. If I'm in a team of 2 to 3 people making an interactive project, I need to have one example of primary research and one example of secondary research. So, in my team, I might do some social media research to find out what people think about a particular idea. And I might also look at an article and extract understanding from that and explain how that's going to inform my idea. Another way of doing research might be in a team of 2 to 3 people. I do a focus group with 4 or 5 people to find out what they think, primary research. And I do some secondary research, that is looking at video tutorials to teach myself how to use the 360 camera and then documenting what I've learned from that. Primary and secondary research from each of you individually, please, in your Google Doc. 2.1, prototype. I'll be doing this with you in my lessons and Monday and Friday lessons. You're going to be capturing behind the scenes updates, vlogs, photographs of your planning, telling the story about the process of your interactive project. You're going to organise and present ideas through a paper prototype where you're going to be creating, using different analog resources, a rough version of your interactive project before you actually build the finished project itself. I'll explain that further in class, but essentially you're going to make a rough paper version of a digital project. It will all make sense. You'll be creating examples and rough versions of your project for others to test and give feedback on as well, and all of that counts as that 2.1 criteria of you testing, iterating, pivoting, and adapting your idea. 2.2, create your finished interactive project. Update your doc, your Google Doc. Everything needs to be in that one space with weekly updates of how it's going, justifying your choices and how you've adapted your product, because you will, won't you? It's not going to end up exactly as you envisioned. It will always adapt and change. And lastly, of course, a reflection, an evaluation as a vlog, 5 minutes maximum, podcast, 5 minutes maximum, or a written piece, 500 words maximum. What feedback did you get from the clients, Enterprise M3, your tutors, your peers? What skills did you learn? How effective is your project in terms of doing what the brief set out for us to explore? How did you present your ideas? How effective was your communication with others in the team? Did you have a group chat? Should you have had a group chat? Did you stay in touch with each other? Were you professional? Did you turn up on time and put in extra effort? Reflect, be honest, and tell me about that. Now, I'll be using this witness statement here to decide whether you've achieved or not yet achieved the criteria. So I'll be able to go through and see whether you've actually managed to achieve or not yet achieve. I'll probably use pen and paper for this. And you'll be able to see whether you've managed to satisfy the criteria or not. Really, we want to make sure we have achieved all of the criteria at the first time of asking, because if you haven't quite managed to achieve it, then we'll all be getting on with the final major project, and you'll have to go back and resubmit the interactive project. And we don't want that. We want everybody starting the final major project at the same time. So we need to aim to get everything done at the first time of asking, okay? Don't want you to have any resubmissions for this one. The deadline is the 4th of March 2022 at 4:30. All time put into this project outside of lessons is industry placement hours. Claim those hours. You're working for a client to a brief with expectations and a clear set of guidelines. Speak to me on Google Chat or in Flip Learning on Friday if you have any questions about the project. Okay, over to you now. Best of luck, my friends.